Yo, welcome back. We're installing the hypervolt today on this new build property, just there, and then we've got a meter cupboard there with the electric supply in. Bit controversial installing a little tiny fuse board in there, but we've sorted the van out, it's all tidy. We're installing an IP rated BG sync board with RCBO, SPD protection, all that jazz. So that's going in there, and then we're installing a hypervolt Pro, so the new one. So first time installing the hypervolt, we'll give that a go. Got some EV Ultra cable from Expert, all the meter tails, Henley blocks, all that in there to have a play with. This is the little fuse board we were installing. It's basically like a little garage board. So you got your SPD main switch, your 32 amp which supplies your SPD, and then you've got your 40 amp RCBO, which is obviously going to the car charger. We're using 6mm, and I can't remember what it's rated at, but it's the 6mm EV Ultra is rated very high for what it is. Like your normal 6mm is, and it's clip direct as well, so it's even higher. Literally, I think I've got like 3 meters. It's like 1.5 meters, and then about 1.5 meters again. So it's hardly any cable run. So that's going to be more than ample. This is where we're working. Got the work mat down, save getting all wet, and this is inside the meter cupboard. Bit of a mess for a new build, but it is what it is. We're working with it. We'll make it work. So I've put this in here, a little fuse board, just enough room. I'm going to lay that up just there, so there's enough room at the bottom to open it up. And then what I'm going to do is obviously we've got an isolation point there, so I don't have to touch the main fuse or nothing like that, because we're not allowed. So that can be screwed there. I can isolate that safely, put those tails into that Henley block, and then like cut them as such. Wire those, so take power into the Henley block, and then bring the main house tails into that Henley block, and then bring some tails from my fuse board into that Henley block as well, because it's a 5-way Henley block. So then we've got all safe, all powered into my board. I've got a tails gland from Expert, so that's going in that top corner, and my tails can come in. And then what else have we got from Expert? What else have we got in here? We've got some 25mm black stuffers, so we can have one of those into the top, and that will, our EV Ultra will come in here and then come around into the board. Ideally, I'd like to take it straight at the bottom, but I want to keep this nice and low, so then I've got enough room to faff here with the tails. And then, realistically, it's just EV Ultra all the way down. I'll probably clip it low level, or I might just bury it just under. No, I'll probably clip it along the surface there, just on show. And then straight up, but believe it or not, I don't have any Linian clips on me, so I'm going to have to come back tomorrow because the shops aren't open today. I don't know why they're not open, but I'll have to come back tomorrow and do the clipping. But it's fine leaving it unclipped just for the minute, because it's not actually a customer's house. It's the girlfriend's brother's, so it's not too bad. It's not like I'm just leaving the customer's house all flapping with a cable dangling. The board cover off, so we've got the RCBO, an MCB, a main switch, an SPD. So obviously our main tail's going into there. We've got the outgoing EV Ultra going there. This is an IP65 board, I believe, so it's got like the rubber seals on it, so it's going to be more than, I'm going to have no common tails. Oh, you can't put a fuse board out here, it's too cold, oh, it's not the environment. This is literally designed to be on the outside, and people who have been putting them like on the exterior walls, but obviously it just doesn't look great on black. They don't do a black version of this, and it just won't look great, so it's better when it's not covered. We get these knockouts done, drill the back, make sure get some appropriate fixings, and then I'll seal them back up after. We're a bit further on, that's all mounted in there. 25mm stuffer is on, I pointed at the wrong one then. 32mm stuffer with the 2 tails is through. I've got the earth here, I've just not put that in yet, as it was just another cable in the way, faffing. The only downside I found to this fuse board is that tails gland. I think that's the bigger one. You can get the smaller ones with the I think the smaller sizes on the underneath. So that lock ring actually hits this. So I've had to like cut that carefully with the grinder, so then that comes through. Otherwise the lock ring wouldn't go on. So that's a bit of a downfall. Realistically, they could have designed this so it's like that much bigger, so it fits an actual 32mm hole saw lock ring, because they clearly wanted it designed that way because they've put a big circle, but it doesn't fit. Whether or not there's other ones available that they actually fit for this fuse board, I don't know, but that's the one I've had. I've adapted it, made it work. It's still safe. But yeah, so realistically now, all that's left is mount the Henley block up here. But obviously I want to keep the power on for as long as possible, because everyone loves a bit of Wi-Fi and playing Xbox and stuff, because it's a holiday break. So I'll leave that on, but we'll probably move on to the cable now and getting this mounted. I'll just briefly show you the Henley block and how that works. It's pretty much like an old big chocolate block, but just rated up to 100 amp for the main tails. Another thing here, this is a brand new build and it's labelled 100 amp while we're on the subject. So on the hypervolt itself, we'll come around to showing you, but there's a setting in here where you can change it between 60 80 or 100 amp, depending on what it's rated at. Obviously we're not allowed to pull that and check the fuse or touch that, but it's labelled there as 100 amp, and it's only about a year old property, so that's going to be correct, unless the DNO literally have no idea what they're doing. They're just sticking any old labels on. But yeah, the Henley block, I'm just going to drill these out and get that mounted up there, out the way, and then them tails can go into there. The tails from the house can go into there, and my tails out of this fuse board can go into there. So realistically, it'll be quite nice and neat. The only downside I don't like is the way they've installed this isolator up there at the corner, which is good because you've left this room. They've now covered up the meter. That's just pretty much done in there for the meanwhile. Got the Henley block mounted, drilled, got them ready to put in, but we can shut that for a minute. We should have enough room there to come up. As you can see, it doesn't look like there's enough here. We're going to have to cut a bit of the plastic here, but they've actually cut more away underneath. So I'll just cut a bit at the top there, bring it through there. I would like to come through this ducting with that, but I don't think it's accessible down there. I think it goes straight down. It's glanded into like a box down there, but I'll dig out these stones and we'll have a look. And then once so that's really done in there for a minute. I've unravelled the EV, so if anyone that's in this, it's literally just 6mm 3-core, and then it's got the Cat5 cable inside. So next, it's literally eye up the charger exactly where you want it. I've read in the manual it's got to be between a certain height, a bit like fuse boards, but I'm going to try and get it so it lines up with the top of that, because it's a black hypervolt, so it's just straight across. Just got the bracket and the mounting template, got that marksman done, 1, 2, 3, so I'll get them drilled, get that fixed. Are you even an electrician if you don't have an old battered screwdriver that you use to tap your plugs in? So I've seen this on many of Jordan's and a chap called Sotter Electrical. Please don't take that offence if I'm saying it wrong, but I've seen him on TikTok fitting a few of these hypervolts. Seen one of his YouTube videos as well, and he was saying about how it's a bit annoying, but it's good for the IP rating and stuff, that these new hypervolts have got loads of screws you have to take off, whereas before I think the first gen ones had clips and they used to snap off when they're cold. But yeah, it's a bit annoying, but I suppose it's just one of them. So I'll undo these and then we'll get into the internals. That's the cover off, just put that safe and then put the screws safe so they can't go anywhere. Obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory. You can either do rear entry now on the back of these, you can do bottom entry. There's 2 slots there if you want to bring in this cat cable separate, if you don't want to pay the extra for the EV Ultra cable. And then, simple as literally like an outdoor socket really, live, neutral, earth, pretty self-explanatory. Would be nice to see them with Wagos on, but then ultimately it draws a lot, so I want a good connection, so I understand why there's still screw terminals. Got a ferrule on, so I've got the ferrule there in the van and the crimps. Down there, that little turny dial, I'll show you in the handbook. That's how you change the load, well, what the maximum load it can take, like 60 or 80 or thing, like what the input into the property is. And then there's some flicky switches there which you can alter some things, which I'll run through in the handbook. And then those 2 there are where the CT connections go, depending whether you've got hardwired internet or there's a primary and a secondary. I don't fully know myself, but I need to have a look. We've got some stones, just going to bury it ever so slightly there, literally just so it looks bare, so you can't see it on show. And then the charger's all mounted, stuffing glands in, that's ready to roll. Obviously we ain't got the clips today, but I'm going to get it all wired up because he had the car delivered yesterday and he needs to get some charge in it. Just strip this off using this Nipex stripper that Nick kind of gave me. So that works actually really well on this cable. It's like high tough H07 style cable. So I'm going to strip back the white outer sheath, probably around there, so there's still some entering the enclosure. And then obviously we'll get onto terminating it and ferruling it. That's the cable into the enclosure. Probably a little bit more showing than needed, but that's the cat cable we've got. That is just a bit of string in the middle to separate the cores. And obviously you've got your live, neutral, earth. It's quite nice using this really, because you ain't got a sleeve up. Normally obviously grey would be blue, but if it was armoured, so luckily it already comes coloured. Just done my IR, going to do my R1R2, so it's all strips ready. Obviously going to link out live and neutral, and then before I get the crimps on, I've already crimped this side, and then do my R1R2. I've done my IR, and then just left then is just the live test, your trip time and your Z max. I'm going to borrow Nick's adapter thing, you know, to get the where you plug it in, imitating the car, and then do the trip time and the ZS. So I've linked out live and neutral. nice and easy. And then got my tester. I've linked out the leads using the croc clips. So then literally I'll quickly unwire that and test that and get that result, get that written down. So this is the cat cable. I need to have a good read of what you do with this. I know obviously you've got the earth, like the tails clamp, sorry, that will go on the incoming tails to measure how much it's using. And then in the charger, I need to have a look and strip this back and figure out how you connect that into there. I've terminated the CT clamp. I just need to plug it in. On here, it's got white and black, so it said white has always got to go on the left, so that will be plugged in like that into the left-hand slot. And then in here, I've had to put another stuffing gland in for that. So then once I get my CT clamp, wherever it is, this one here, so that's going to flow, the main tail's going into the Henley block, it's got to go on before, so it's going to be flowing that way. So it'll be clicked on like that. That cable then is going to come through that stuffing gland and join onto this cable. So then the white will join onto the blue, and then the black cable will join onto the red, just in way it goes in here, just tucked up out of the way. So then you can do the load management and see how much electricity it's using. Then also on here, on this little circuit board, which is just there, I don't know how well you can see those little flicky switches, you can change the maximum demand. So 32 amp, 20 amp, 16 amp, obviously depends on what setting you're on. It says what each colour does and what it means. And then also on here, there's the flicky switch, which is here. So you've got set it on number 6 for 60 amp, number 7 for 80 amps, and number 8 for 100 amp. So we want 100 amp here because it's saying it's got 100 amp main fuse. So let's double check. Number 8, what are we on here? Number 8, I think. It's quite hard to read, so I'll just have to get a bit closer and have a look at that. And then it says about here, just double check about the CT clamps, about PEM fault. So this has got built-in PEM fault, so we ain't got to worry about this. But yeah, so realistically, it's just do these last final touches, get that CT clamp wired up. Yes, everyone's looking at me now thinking there's no main earth yet. I've not put that in yet. I'm just going to come off here, straight into here, straight into there. So I'm going to do that, get this earth wired in, do the last CT clamps, get some ZS at the DB, and get it powered up. We're all done. It's all on and working. Everything's tested. Really happy with this job. Look, like I said, I've got to come back tomorrow or whenever the wholesalers are open so I can get some linear clips just to put on this bit and then that little bit. But as you can see, looking mint, the hypervolt is. So literally all that's left is just give everything a clean, give everything a tidy up, and put the not the meter cover, the fuse box cover lid back on. CT clamps on, wagoed that through down there. Everything's terminated into the Henley blocks, all nice. Yes, it is a bit crammed in Spaghetti Junction. Like I say, I don't think from what I've done is too bad compared to what the meter guys have done with their tails there, straight over the meter. I think mine, the tails there, it was either go up and cover the main switch, which you don't want to do because in case of emergency, you want to flick that off quickly. So I went round here, kept the length on it, and just tucked it in. But overall, that's really nice. So I'll get the cover on that, and then that can be shut up. And then we'll have a play with the app and try and set this up. And it's charging at the full 32 amps. I did have a little bit of a boo-boo, and I ended up not changing that little dial, which I showed you guys and said, you got to change that. So I didn't change that. It was stuck on 60 amp, which was allowing us to only draw 6 amps to the car. It's like trickle charge. So I altered that to 100 amp, and now we're pulling the full 32 amps to when it's charging. So about 8 hours, did it say, for a full charge? Yeah. So jobs are good. On to the next one.